Hello and welcome to the Logic Club educational videos. My name is Rubina Parviz. I'm Strategic Application Specialist for General Imaging. I will go over the B-mode and colour flow optimization in this session for the Logic P6. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the controls that you may want to adjust when you are scanning. However, there are too many parameters for me to go over in this session, so I'm going to only go over the major ones. So we're going to scan the abdomen, and I'm going to show you harmonics. Harmonics is a way of improving image clarity by reducing clutter in the image. You can see in this image I have a nice window. I have a very slim patient actually, so it's going to be a nice window. The image looks very good. On the screen itself at the top end, you can see, if I bring up an arrow, that I am scanning in CHI at 4 MHz. If I was to remove CHI, you should see a difference in image. Unfortunately on him, it's not a great difference because it doesn't degrade the image. But if you look at the kidney itself and some of the borders of the vessels in the liver, when I go into harmonics, it smooths the borders out and cleans up for us. So it's only a subtle change in him, but the bigger the patient, the bigger the difference. So the next area that you can actually adjust here, and I'll go through, actually a good guide is the controls that you should be looking at actually adjusting are the ones at the bottom of your LCD monitor. So frequency, we can adjust the frequency. He's nice and slim, so I can rotate the knob, number 1, and I could actually afford to go up higher in frequency on him. I find on him 5 works probably the best. So I can use 5 MHz. I'm just going to increase the depth a little so that you can see that I've got even imaging throughout the field of view all the way back to the liver at this frequency. Cross beam I have is the next parameter on top menu knob number 2. This is cross beam on, this is without, and you can see that the contrast resolution has almost gone. It's a very sparkly image. Again, if I put cross beam back on, you can see the borders have smoothed out, the contrast resolution is greatly improved. And crossbeam is actually, I should mention, it is spatial compounding. It combines 3 or more frames from different steering angles into a single frame. It reduces speckle within the image and clutter, but improves contrast resolution, and that is the key to using crossbeam. Okay, third thing, and the third button on my top menu knobs is dynamic range. Dynamic range is your signal to noise ratio. This is the number of low-level echoes displayed within your image. The higher this number, the more grey levels are displayed, which means you have a softer, smoother image. The lower the number, the less you're taking away some of the low-level echoes and you have a contrasty image. A little guide for you would be that if you have a bigger patient, use a lower dynamic range. If you have a slim patient or a child, you can afford to go up in dynamic range, and this is what dynamic range will do to your image. So if I show you on my model here, I can take my dynamic range down and you can see my image is getting more contrasty, more black and white. And if I increase it, so I'm at 57 here, if I increase it, I'm seeing more shades of grey in this image. The image is getting softer and smoother. I could actually afford to go up to 78, maybe 81 on him, without actually destroying the image. That's because I have an ideal patient here. So I would say to you, if you have a large patient, go down to about 60 for your dynamic range and increase it as your patient is getting slimmer and smaller. SRI. SRI is an adaptive algorithm to reduce speckle within the ultrasound image. And on this system, we have speckle reduction, high definition on menu knob number 4. And if I show you what it does at 0, you can see that I have a lot of speckle in this image. If I increase the speckle, you can see it's actually smoothing out the speckle, smoothing out the borders, improving my contrast resolution, and you can see that it's a very smooth, almost unnatural image because this is too high. So I would say to you is ideally in an image you want to use speckle reduction of 2, 3 for your day-to-day routine. Now, if you are unsure about speckle reduction and you're not sure what it's adding to your patient, I would recommend that you use a side-by-side dual comparison by pressing the left and right key simultaneously. And you can see from here, my left image is actually an unprocessed image with nothing on it. My image on the right is my SRI enhanced image. So it'll make you more comfortable with the levels that you are using, but also makes you realize that you're not actually losing anything, you're gaining a lot from using it. To come back into your single screen, press B mode knob just to come back to your single B mode image. There are lots of parameters that you can do to improve your B mode image. Like I said, I've taken the main ones to show you, but under your navigational keys, which was your little top menu, you have all the other parameters such as frame average, line density, suppression, edge enhancement. All of these can be adjusted as well, but these are not the ones that I would go in and routinely adjust. Like I said, the major ones are actually on the LCD monitor. Let me give you a little guide on how, not on an ideal patient obviously, but if you have a few things. If you have an image that is very coarse and very grainy, things that you can do to improve that image would be to increase your dynamic range. You can increase the level of SRI and use crossbeam. If you have an image that is too soft or smooth and you want a little bit more contrast, I would recommend that you reduce your dynamic range. You can also reduce your frame average, and you can take up your edge enhancement. And these two are found on the top menu navigational keys. If your image is very noisy and you want to smooth it out, reduce your gain. You can also reduce your dynamic range, and you can increase your frame average. And finally, if you have a patient that is technically difficult on the bigger side, where noise is a major factor in this, you would want to choose the correct probe, reduce your frequency so that you're actually getting better penetration, and also reduce your dynamic range because you want to actually get rid of those low-level echoes in the image. Okay, so that's your B mode optimization, and we'll do a little bit about color. So if I come out of this and I place my color by activating my color mode knob, I have color already on him, but it's not ideal. As you can see, my vessels aren't completely filled in. So to optimize this, I'm going to increase my color gain. And like I said earlier on, I would bring it up to a level where I call it twinkle point, where I introduce noise in the image and then I back off. Now, I'm just going to also reduce my PRF just to get a little bit more color. And as you can see, that would be the optimum on him. So some of the things that I have adjusted here was the gain and my PRF. Those would be the first things that I would do. If I was looking deeper, and obviously I haven't got a patient that is big, but if I was looking deeper and I wanted better penetration, color at depth, I would then reduce the frequency as well by menu number 1 now on my bottom tab is color parameters would be the frequency. To exit all of this, I would press B mode and back to my B mode imaging. So some of the things that I can tell you about color, I don't have a patient that I'm struggling with, so I will just explain to you. If I want to increase the frame rate, I should have mentioned this when we were scanning, is I have an image here and I have my PRF displayed on the screen. If I take my little arrow and show you, my PRF is 9. If I adjust my sample area for my color box, the wider the box that I'm using, my frame rate will slow down. It's the width of the box and not the height that actually has an impact on frame rate. So you want to use the best frame rate so that you can show true hemodynamics of your blood vessels when you are scanning. If you don't have enough color in the image, you want to increase your gain and adjust your PRF. If you have too much color in your image and you want to reduce it, then you need to take down the gain and increase your PRF to overcome it. For more in-depth explanation of all these B mode and color flow parameters, please refer to the F1 Help Online User Manual. Thank you and goodbye.